Hello, friends. It is well below freezing in Roscoe, Texas today, and we've got a pretty good covering of ice first and then snow on top of that. Wintry mix, I guess is what they call it. It's still like in the teens out there. So here I am in the reloaded group again. Uh, I am not the be all end all expert on reloading. Get that out of your head now. If you're here for expert be all end all, I ain't it. Okay. Uh, but anyway, I've been tinkering with it for quite a while. More than a decade now, I guess. Uh, and I've learned a lot, and I'm still learning a lot. And I'm gonna try to share some of the things I learned along the way. And I talked in an earlier video about it's in the book is not always the appropriate answer. Now the books, any reloader worth their salt will tell you that's a guide, because you're gonna play with your charges, you're gonna play with your bullet seating depths as you get more into it, as you get more comfortable with it, to tune your cartridges to a particular gun, especially if you're going for that last little bit of accuracy where you're punching holes in paper the same time every time. If that's your game. And if your game's just to load a bunch of bullets to go out and shoot, hey, you're not going to be that careful with them. Be careful, but you're not going to be that exacting. Okay? A lot of the reloaders I know and have known in the past, when they get asked a question you see it on the internet forums, especially really badly. A new reloader will come up with a question. And an old sourhead will say, "It's in the book. Get your book, stupid." Come on, man. If you've already solved this problem, give that knowledge. Now, same token, if you're out there asking that question, take it with a grain of salt. And then bounce it off the book and see if it's close to the right answer. Now, what I mean by that, all right, let's take a look at some things I've got here on the shelf. Okay. One of the things I've got here on the shelf is a pull down from a 7.62 by 54R, which is a old Russian gun there, it's had a long and storied history for you Mose and Nagant fans out there. You know what I'm talking about. So the pull down I happen to have is this. Let's pull down and take a look here real quick. And again, I'm kind of a low tech redneck, but so bear with me as I cuddly zoom and stuff. So right here, that's the parent case of the 7.62 by 54R. So right here is the pull down I'm talking about. This is 145 grain tracer bullet. When you flip it over and see this little cap on the back of it, inside there is some tracing compound, stuff that'll ignite whenever it's fired, and you can see the bullet fly through the air, making a streak through the air that you can track to your target. Now, it weighs 145 grains. And see how long it is? Next door to it is a pull down from a 7.62 NATO cartridge. A little military surplus stuff. And it is 147 grains. And see how much shorter it is? And then when you look on the back of it, it's got this exposed lead back here in the back end of it. And there's your cantilever on it. And there's your cantilever on the tracer. So you can see those cantilevers, and that's where you seat that whenever you're basic seating depth. Okay, you're going to seat your bullet into the cartridge case to that cantilever, so when you crimp it, it holds on that. Not all bullets have cantilevers. Your cantilevers are generally going to be on your heavier recoil end or stuff that's made for rough handling and jostling around. Like your military stuff is always going to have a cantilever on it because it gets rough handled and jostled around. And then over here next door to it is this 150 grain Barnes TSX all copper hunting bullet. So you can see it's only just a little bit heavier than this 147 grain, coming in at 150 grains. But it's shorter, but its ogive is a lot different, making up for that mass difference. Even though it's shorter, this bullet starts losing weight here where the ogive starts, and it starts tapering up to that cone. This one is much longer and making up for some of that weight. It also has a lot more bearing surface. Same thing with this. It's going to have a lot more bearing surface. Now, I'm not an engineer by any means, but in my feeble brain, that more bearing surface is going to have to deal with making more pressure, because it makes more friction. It just stands to reason. The more surface you have biting into the lands, the grooves of the rifle barrel, that's more drag, that's more friction, and that's going to build more pressure behind that bullet, even though they're very close and similar in weight. Now, one of the things that you're not going to find in any of the books that I found yet, okay, if you have one out there that has this information, please let me know, because I'd love to buy that book. Actually, I don't have a lot of books, but I ran into this when I was loading up a bunch of surplus 5.56 tracers. The first time I loaded it, I loaded them with the same powder I always load with, which was AR comp powder. And it wouldn't ignite the tracer. So I wound up having to get some of this Ogden FE223. And that would ignite the tracer element in it. So imagine running into the same thing with this 7.62x54R. The standard powders that you might use that it recommends, like my Lyman book here, which is the only book I have that has the 7.62x54R in it. It recommends a lot of different powders for it. 215, IMR 4895, Varget, N140, and RX15 are the ones it recommends. And there's a couple others depending on where you go. When you go into the real heavier bullet, it starts recommending IMR 4350. But anyway, you'll get all that out of your books. But it doesn't say anything about this tracer. This tracer bullet is not mentioned in any of that data. So I don't know which one of those powders would ignite that tracer. So if you do, if I pulled up on an internet forum and said, hey, I'm loading this 145 grain bullet, this tracer bullet, into a 308, there's not going to be that combination, because this is a Soviet style bullet, and I'm putting it into a 308 cartridge. Now, Robert, how are you going to do that? Well, check it out. The 7.62x54R, its land diameter is 0.300. The 308, or the 7.62 NATO, its land diameter is .300. So around, they're the same. Nominal difference in the actual bullet diameter. The 7.62 by 54R is .312, and the 308 is .308. Do the math, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Not that far off, so it will push down that barrel. Again, that's going to kind of affect the pressures a little bit. So when you get into those situations, you're kind of wildcatting, always start your loads kind of low. Don't go too low, because if you get really crazy too low, then you can also still make a catastrophic situation where it doesn't push that bullet out, and you have you're making a little bomb there. You got to get enough push pressure on it to push it out. Okay, so gotta be careful there. Only back off. Look at the load, go into the books and try to find a load data that's kind of close. Back off 1, maybe 2 grains, 3 grains, and then load a couple, take them out to range, put on all your protective gear. When I'm really playing around with a load that I'm really not crazy familiar with, hey, gloves, good protected eyeglasses, of course your hearing protection, put your hat down low, get down there and fire the cartridge. And then, see how it all reacts, and then you can start bumping up, check for pressures and all that stuff we talked about before. So that could be done. You can also put this in a 30-06. You'd have to really be careful there. It's wildcatting. You're not going to find that combination of this Soviet tracer bullet into a 30-06 or 308 in any of these manuals. Whether it be your Hornady manual, your what I got here, your Alliant powder manual. So and that's all the manuals I got. I got some other little printouts from manufacturers for some powders, but anyway. And then the same thing goes whenever we start looking into like this. This has got like multiple cantilevers on it. This XT TSX, and I'm gonna be loading it into by 30-06. Now the question is gonna be which one of those cantilevers am I gonna seat into? And again, I'm gonna start a little low. I can find a 150 grain bullet in either one of those manuals for 30-06, any of those manuals I just showed you for a 30-06, but I can't find this bullet in mine. And again, this is just a theory of mine. This doesn't have any lead in it, so it's longer. It's going to have more bearing surface, like we talked about. An ogive is a little bit way up in there, so I'm gonna have to kind of figure this one out a little bit. But both bullet seating depth and what powder charge to get, because I'm not gonna find that exact bullet in there. But a lot of people are probably loading these. So if I went on an internet forum and said, "Hey, I'm loading these, man. What do y'all? Anybody out there ever load these? And what in a 30-06? And what was your solution?" And hopefully you'll get a bunch of information, bunch of guys giving you answers that are close. And hopefully you won't have some old fuddy fud. It's in the book. Look in the book, stupid. We gotta grow our community. And throwing that "it's in the book, stupid" answer out there just annoys me. It did when I was getting into this reloading stuff very much. The books are a guide. And yes, you should reference the books. But if you have knowledge, you should share it. And, when you share that knowledge, quantify it. Hey, this is what I did. It may not be exactly correct for your application. Check it out in the book. Be safe. But, guys, we've got to be a little kinder to each other out there. So, anyway, it's a crazy world in reloading. Hand loading, whatever you want to call it. Some people will say, oh, it's hand loading. Somebody said reloading. Hey, whatever. Relax a little bit. Lighten, in the immortal words of Sergeant Hoka, lighten up, Francis. So get your setup. Use all the resources available for you. Start low. Move up. Trust but verify, whatever you want to call it. And just remember this, Elmer Keith, the great Elmer Keith, if you don't know who he is, look him up. If he were alive today and went on an internet forum while he was developing the 357 Magnum, they'd have laughed him off the internet. No doubt. A little bit longer video than I usually do. Hope you enjoyed being here. Like and subscribe. Like I'm a real YouTuber or something. Anyway, all that being said, y'all have fun out there.